So I'm going to do another set of Pandesal. The last time it was a bit denser, so now I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit of Pandesal, which is not so dense. So these are the ingredients. Okay. So the ingredients includes, except for the banana there. So it includes sugar, 1/4 cup, all-purpose flour, 2 cups plus extra for kneading, three-fourths cup of water, 1/2 teaspoon of yeast, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/8 cup of powder milk. So all of this needs to get mixed all together into our bowl. Then the rest of these 2 ingredients will be after it is kneaded. So after the kneading part, after that. So the margarine is 1/4 cup. You can also use melted butter, but it's 1/4 cup of butter as well. Unsalted butter, you can do that as well. So you use the butter after it's kneaded. So you put the butter once it's kneaded, and then you knead it again after putting it and setting it for 1.5 hours. So again, mix all the ingredients. So mix all of them into a bowl and then knead them. Then add the margarine or butter, unsalted butter, and then knead again, and then let it sit for 1.5 hours so it can rise. So once it has once the dough has rised, you can deflate it and then put a little bit of this Atta, which is a whole meal wheat flour, which is the brand is Golden Temple, and you can put that in there. So we'll start with the mixing, then we go from there. So this one is already kneaded in the bread maker. So now we're gonna put the margarine, and then it's gonna need more. This is my hand, not Harry. This is my husband's hand. He was the one mixing it before. Okay, so you can mix that.
Just in case
and then,
the audience thinks that you're turning into a monkey.
So he's gonna mix that again in the bread maker, and it's going to set for 1.5 hours after that. So this is the kneaded dough with margarine. It was mixed there for 20 minutes, and we're going to transfer it to this bowl, which I coated with margarine as well, and let it set for 1.5 hours. And once that's done, we're going to deflate the dough and roll it and sprinkle some atta, which is the wholemeal wheat flour, which we used for roti. So we just need to cover this and let it sit there for 1.5 hours. And so we let the kneaded dough rise for 1.5 hours, and it's done. We're gonna put it on the counter here, sprinkle with, instead of normal flour, we're gonna sprinkle it with atta. It's an Indian flour used for roti, for flatbreads. So it's a wholemeal, whole wheat flour. So Pandesal calls for fine breadcrumbs. We don't have that. We do have panko, but it's too thick for it, so we're gonna just use atta here. And we're going to put this dough and deflate it, flatten it, and then we're gonna roll it into Pandesal size. So we're gonna cut it into small pieces, and then we're gonna set it for 10 minutes before putting it in the baking sheet. Okay, so 10 minutes is done, and we don't have any cutter, so I'm gonna use this pizza cutter, and we're just gonna cut it into small pieces. This is the Pandesal. We just need to set it for another 1.5 hours and cover it. So we have set the dough. Well, we, because my girls and I are around and they're supervising me doing the baking. So anyways, this has set for another 1.5 hours. After we sprinkle the atta on it and cut the dough. Now we're just gonna remove this, and the oven is now preheating at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're gonna put and bake this pandesal for 15 minutes, and then we're gonna set it, and then we're gonna eat it. Okay, so we'll do that. So while I was waiting for the oven to preheat, I decided, you know what, I'm going to cut the slices into two, make it a lot more instead of just a little. So now, instead of this one being only 6 or 7, now it's more. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna put this in the oven now. Alright, we wait for 10 to 15 minutes. So our timer is done, 15 minutes is done. So I turned off the oven, and I'm gonna take out the bread because it's done.